Millions experienced a shock louder than any amplifier Ozzy Osbourne had ever touched when he died. He was a voice in music and a guide through our darkness for almost 50 years. The Prince of Darkness retired at 76, leaving millions of hearts broken by silence. Fans grieved the man who helped them through their toughest times, not just an artist. It broke a generation's soul and felt like losing a loved one. Sharon feels the most anguish. Besides being his wife, she witnessed his survival, warrior and fire, someone who supported him during every storm. She grieves for the man on stage and the man who held her hand in the dark and pledged to never let go. Let us salute the Prince of Darkness by raising a thumb before we begin. Ozzy Osbourne's screams from the depths of misery were the loudest in rock history. Heartbreak lurked behind every shout. How long it took the world to learn Ozzy wasn't attempting to shock us is unfortunate. Survival was his goal. He wasn't supposed to be here from the start. Ozzy was born into squalor in Birmingham, arrested at 17, and labeled talentless by industry leaders. We climbed through fire with broken fingers. Not classically trained, he didn't appear or act like a rock star. He possessed something stronger than polish. He was present. He appeared on stage with Black Sabbath in the early 1970s like anguish had spoken. He wasn't merely heard. They felt him because he existed, dangerously real. I sung because I didn't know what else to do, he added. I screamed to survive. That wasn't metaphor. Survival technique. His crazy, chaotic, horrifying shows weren't acts. They confessed. The 1982 bat-biting incident wasn't staged. Absolute Ozzy, impetuous, bizarre, and followed by more music. Despite blood on his chin, he sang, shocking the crowd. Ozzy didn't leave because the stage wasn't a platform. There was safety. He sang despite injuries, addiction, and profound depression. He fainted backstage, not during the song. Even after spinal surgery, he kept holding shows. When Parkinson's took his mobility later in life, he murmured, "I owe it to them." When asked why he kept going, he meant it. He wasn't entertaining. Being with them, he survived. After nearly dying from alcohol poisoning and many overdoses in his 40s, he recovered. This time, as its survivor, not the Prince of Darkness. He continued to shine in the 1990s with successes like No More Tears and founded Ozzfest in 1996, a refuge for younger misfits who saw themselves in him. By the 2000s, Osbourne's reality show revealed the man behind the crazy, a man who forgot songs but remembered agony and laughed at himself, never at his fans. His voice broke with age, but his soul yelled louder. "I'm no role model," he remarked. A freaking warning. The man was wrong. He was both. He was the monster and the miracle, shattering himself on stage night after night to make others feel whole. That may be the saddest truth. He gave till he was exhausted and the screams stopped. Looking back, every grunt, misstep, and eerie note wasn't simply fun. This appeal, prayer, and promise said that even if you're wounded, addicted, or drowning in your own darkness, you deserve to be heard, recognized, and loved. Ozzy was timeless because of that, not just singing through it. When others couldn't yell, he spoke. He became something no training, fame, or riches could create. He became truth. Accepting such a voice's silence is painful, nearly unbearable. But we remember in quiet. Ozzy Osbourne survived darkness and taught millions how to walk through it and speak louder. When Ozzy Osbourne's stage lights dimmed and his booming voice became a whisper, the world saw a change greater than any encore. These were not only a rock star's final years, they were the final chapters of a man who had dedicated his life to music, agony, and those who saw themselves in his mess. Ozzy's body was a battlefield by his early 70s. The 2003 Parkinson's disease diagnosis was revealed in 2020 after a gradual, relentless decline. Each step and breath grew harder. Multiple spinal surgeries, nerve discomfort, and collapses after performances plagued him. He came up not because he was contractually committed, but because he felt he owed it to the fans who supported him through every crash, relapse, and resurrection. The eerie intimacy of vulnerability was his final big act of resistance, not a stadium tour. Ozzy published Patient Number 9 in his dying years, a desperation-driven project. Every line sounded goodbye. Each sound bore the weight of a man singing against the silence. "I'm not terrified of dying," he remarked in an interview. "I fear being forgotten more." He barely stood while he recorded the CD. Friends and collaborators said he sang sitting down in the studio, clutching the mic stand like a lifeline. Some takes he couldn't finish without crying. One producer remembered, but he sung. Still, he donated. Because Ozzy saw music as an exorcism, not a performance. Ozzy made a surprise on-stage appearance at a Birmingham festival on July 5th. His last public engagement. He was unable to sing, but he remained there, trembling but resolute, staring at a sea of supporters yelling his name. His tearful eyes said what his voice could not. "Thank you." Still here. Not a concert in that moment. It was a waveform goodbye. Ozzy saw it as more than a gesture. It fulfilled a silent dream he had held during his decline, to face his admirers one more time and look them in the eyes. It was never about glory or legacy, but about appreciation and surrendering oneself fully even in physical wreckage. Sharon later said he wanted to say farewell on his own terms, and he did. That final appearance calmed him. After Birmingham, he was emotionally weary, yet calm. He reportedly informed his son Jack, "I did what I needed to." Those times were filled with completion, not regret. A man whose life had been chaos found closure in that little moment of silence surrounded by love and adoration. He gave his followers everything, and they gave him the strength to finish. Privately, the battle was worse. He told Sharon he felt like a ghost in his body, trapped and watching the world go on without him. She claimed he would find a modest cause to move forward every morning. It may be a fan letter, a dream riff, or Kelly's laughter in the next room. Ozzy never hid his past. He was honest about his regrets, the people he affected, the years he lost to addiction, and the parent he failed in his final interviews. He remarked, "I wasn't always good, but I attempted to improve." He returned till his body could no longer follow his spirit. As his days got fewer and his hospital visits increased, his family spent almost every moment with him. Jack, Kelly, and Amy read him adoring letters, many of which said his music saved their lives. Sharon never left his bed. He heard her whispering phrases only they understood every night. Words cannot express the depth of heartbreak. Ozzy Osbourne's death ended a fire that had kept millions warm in their darkest hours. His suffering comforted us. His brokenness let us be whole. Despite his quiet death, his life's reverberation lingers. In every metal guitar scream, every misfit who finds refuge in a snarling song, and every individual who gets up again. That's Ozzy's legacy. This soul refused to die. News spread differently the morning it broke. It seemed to shake the ground beneath millions who had shouted his name from stadium seats or murmured his songs in their sleep. After Ozzy Osbourne died, the world roared with sadness, appreciation, and admiration across continents and generations. Fans laid black roses, vinyl albums, and handwritten letters beneath an Ozzy and Digbeth mural in Birmingham, where it all began. Some burned candles, some blasted Black Sabbath songs on portable speakers, tears mixed with rain. One inscription on the wall said, "You taught me to survive." In Los Angeles, Crowds gathered around his Hollywood Walk of Fame star. People in metal gear and business clothes knelt, each formed by a different Ozzy era. Man had 1,982 concert stub. A woman cried while holding a framed photo of her and Ozzy at his autograph session, saying, "He saw me." South American and Swedish radio stations paused, programming for all-day Ozzy marathons. His voice filled the radio for hours. Raw, stubborn, immortal. The streaming platforms reported an exponential rise. Spotify and Apple Music reported 900% growth in Ozzy. Solo and Black Sabbath listens in 12 hours. War Pigs' Dreamer, No More Tears. They were requiems, memorials, and goodbyes. Old concert footage returned on YouTube. A 1983 Bach at the Moon concert went viral. "I've made errors, but music always saved me," he stated in a 1992 interview. Fans made tens of thousands of comments. Others recounted how Ozzy's music helped them through divorces, breakdowns, overdoses, and suicide attempts. One man said, "Ozzy dwelt in darkness and showed us the way out." Remembrance was woven into social media. "Thank You Ozzy" trended in over 50 countries. Heavy metal, hip-hop, and other artists paid tribute. Metallica's James Hetfield said, "Ozzy was our basis." Post Malone, who collaborated with Ozzy on Take What You Want, wrote, "Honor was mine." Rest easy, legend. Iron Maiden, Foo Fighters, and Judas Priest issued statements. Sharon Osbourne reacted with a black and white backstage shot of Ozzy. Head lowered, hands clasped in prayer. Her caption, "He provided everything, even and especially when it hurt." Fans held spontaneous listening sessions in parks, bars, churches, and alleyways, anywhere they could congregate and turn up the volume. At Yoyogi Park in Tokyo, hundreds held candles solemnly. A Berlin church rung its bells 13 times, one for each Black Sabbath studio album with Ozzy. A huge wave of mementos lined the street at the family's LA home. Flowers, flags, drawings, tattoo sketches, and broken guitars symbolized Ozzy. "He Screamed So We Could Be Heard" was painted on a big public painting overnight by a local artist. Love flooded Sharon, providing a weird lifeline. "Every letter, every flower, it's like the world is holding him with me," she told a close friend. Though quiet in public, sources say she read fan emails late at night, crying and laughing, but always carrying a 1979 snapshot of them, the year they fell in love. Jack Kelly and Amy Osbourne paid brief but touching tributes. Jack wrote that he was my dad and the loudest, sweetest soul I've known. Kelly commented a photo of Ozzy holding her as a baby. "You made the darkness beautiful. That's my forever." Public grieving was varied. Churches lit candles. Tattoo shops offered free Ozzy designs. Mental health forums posted accounts about how his music helped people overcome depression, anxiety, and loneliness. "I was 14, standing on a ledge," wrote one enthusiast. "I heard Mama, I'm coming home. Stepped back. I chose stay." Industry executives soon memorialized his influence. Rock and Roll Hall of Fame announced Eternal Prince, the Legacy of Ozzy Osbourne retrospective exhibit. ITV and BBC put on tributes. A big memorial performance at Wembley Stadium is being planned with live broadcasts from Los Angeles and São Paulo. His formal recognition is also being sought. Birmingham city officials suggested dedicating a street or square after him. A posthumous knighthood petition reached 500,000 signatures in 48 hours. Despite official announcements and broadcast events, quiet moments were the ultimate tribute. The woman yelling lyrics into her steering wheel, the youngster becoming paranoid for the first time, and the nurse humming changes at her patient's bedside. These were the sounds of a man who had made anguish sing. His absence feels profound because of that. Ozzy touched people's lives as well as music history. Trauma, healing, revolt, and redemption. He was unsanitary. He was risky. He existed. In a world where sincerity is sometimes faked, Ozzy Osbourne was unvarnished, unbreakable, and unforgettable. In a candlelit Birmingham vigil, one admirer said, "He didn't just teach us how to headbang." Ozzy's voice still resonates in millions of hearts that took safety in his noise, even after his death. The world mourns, but it also recalls loudly, painfully, and with eternal appreciation. One woman's sadness outshone any commemoration or candlelight vigil after Ozzy Osbourne's death. Sadness of Sharon Osbourne. She was more than Ozzy's wife. She was his rock, battle, buddy, fiercest protector, and mirror. Their love story was painfully real, never contrived or flawless. And now, Sharon is caught between agonizing pain and unshakable duty after losing her partner. Sharon was more than Ozzy's partner for 40 years. His shield from destruction was her. She was there when the world turned against him, narcotics distorted his reality, and disease crippled him. She held his hand throughout his darkest withdrawals, hid him from the press when he couldn't walk, and pushed him back on stage when his soul burned but his body faltered. Sharon understood Ozzy better than anyone. As the world says goodbye, Sharon must carry the torch. She has made only one public statement after his death. He was surrounded by love, but friends describe her as broken but composed behind closed doors. Because Sharon is delivering a final promise made in whispers on late nights when Ozzy feared he'd be remembered as a myth instead of a man, even in pain. She's began to defend his legacy as promised. An unprecedented memorial ceremony is the first step. Sharon is personally organizing a major tribute event at Wembley Stadium later this year. Chronicle, not simply a concert. A multi-act extravaganza involving Ozzy's protégés, Ozfest stars, and those who still bear his mark. Sharon wants it raw, electrifying, and heartfelt. No polished eulogies, just screaming guitars, crackling intensity, and genuine adoration. Because Ozzy would have wanted that. But that's just the start. Sharon has prepared for something more lasting behind the scenes. Ozzy Osbourne Legacy Foundation. 3 factors affected Ozzy's subsequent life: music education, mental health awareness, and addiction recovery for underserved adolescents. Each pillar represents a personal war Ozzy waged and is meant to illuminate others in the same shadows. Sharon founded the charity to ensure that Ozzy continues to save lives after death. She also resumed her memoir, which she started secretly years ago. Not just any memoir. This covers Ozzy's final decade, a time of pain, resilience, tenderness, and love. The untitled book will chronicle the long hospital nights, canceled tours, solitary chats, and sacred moments the cameras missed. It will hurt. It will be hers, and wonderful. Family sources believe the memoir is over half done. Sharon, ever the strategist, documents everything for years. From prescription schedules to late-night anxieties, to comments Ozzy murmured when no one was listening. "If I can't sing, I'll shout," says one page. "If I can't yell, I'll whisper, but I won't leave silent." She wants the world to remember Ozzy as she knew him. Along with the memoir, a documentary is being made. Sharon shared their family's footage, home videos, interviews, and voice recordings. Fans may see Ozzy dancing with Kelly in the kitchen for the first time. He practiced singing in his jammies, kissing Sharon's forehead after every argument. This isn't the Dark Prince. This man loved, fell, fought, healed, and always returned. Sharon isn't weakened by grief. It honed her mission. She wants to create a legacy from the mayhem, preserving Ozzy's legacy and who he was away from the spotlight. Her strength is using tears to create something worthwhile. She said he didn't want a statue. He demanded honesty. The fact is this: Ozzy was flawed. Sharon loved every shattered, gorgeous part of him, a wounded warrior, a volcano of contrasts, a soul on fire. Now, she's not just grieving as she arranges tributes, meets with publishers, and creates a foundation in his name. Each bit of him is returned to the world in the most honest, unforgettable way. Sharon's objective will continue when the tribute concert lights go out, the last book is closed, and the last footage fades to black. Because legacies endure, not after such passionate love. Due to Ozzy, a young artist will pick up a guitar tonight. His story will inspire a recovered addict elsewhere. At the heart of it all, a woman in black will sit calmly, turning his silence into music the world will never forget. Ozzy Osbourne redefined what it meant to be unapologetic in public from the ashes of rebellion and distortion. Few names in popular culture inspire adoration, debate, and generational allegiance like Ozzy's. In addition to performing, he was a cultural disruptor, a symbol of endurance, and the living embodiment of a fringe genre. Ozzy defied the odds by becoming a star. Black Sabbath frontman helped birth heavy metal, not only sound, but movement. Although critics didn't like the band's 1970 debut, supporters realized something groundbreaking had arrived. Paranoid, Iron Man, War Pigs, not simply music. They rallied a generation disillusioned by war, politics, and conformity. With his raw voice and unhinged stage appearance, Ozzy became the angst prophet. He made the unpolished powerful and acceptable, but his influence went beyond a microphone. Over 50 years, Ozzy influenced film, fashion, television, and academics. Though scrutinized, admired, and mocked, he was never replaced. Prince of Darkness wasn't simply branding, it acknowledged his strong connection with the unseen. He spoke for the outcasts, angry and damaged. His music reflected turmoil and gave unity. So, after his death, the response went beyond rock circles. A cultural reckoning occurred. His gritty, working-class hometown of Birmingham, Tokyo, Berlin, Sao Paulo, and Los Angeles saw candlelight vigils. Not only musicians were mourned in these cities. Era and ethos were mourned. The Hollywood Walk of Fame was filled with black roses and handwritten letters, while UK digital billboards showed his silhouette with the words, "Thank you, Ozzy." Birmingham, where Ozzy's defiance first echoed from pub stages, aims to create a permanent memorial in his honor. Local politicians have confirmed early memorial plaza designs and the renaming of a public square to Osbourne Yard. He was named the city's most daring and worldwide voice by one councilman. Across the Atlantic, Wembley Stadium, home to many musical milestones, will hold a multi-artist memorial concert in his honor. The event, still in planned, will bring together rock classics and modern artists to honor Ozzy. His former Ozfest openers will perform with his current influences in a spectacular farewell. Perhaps the most astonishing outpouring is from the people. Within 48 hours of his death, a global campaign for posthumous knighthood received over 500,000 signatures. Although Ozzy was never knighted, the campaign claims that his contributions to British culture exceed those of any laureate. Supporters say recognizing him now corrects an oversight, not merely custom. Ozzy helped bring British music across the world and influence generations, according to the UK Department for Culture, Media and Sport. Broadcast media followed. ITV launched a 24-hour marathon of old performances and interviews, while the BBC announced a 2-part primetime special called Osbourne, The Voice in the Abyss. The Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in Cleveland is displaying Ozzy's handwritten lyrics, stage outfits, and rare unpublished footage from his solo and Black Sabbath years in a new wing. Scholars are also reassessing Ozzy's impact. Numerous British and American institutions are offering courses on his life, songs, and the psychological impact of heavy metal in post-industrial cultures. Ozzy was more than a singer to many. He translated emotional survival. He created art from alienation, used wrath to create rhythm. Through all the recognition, one thing is obvious. Ozzy Osbourne was more than his scandals, pranks, and headlines. He showed that unfiltered, imperfect, and loud humanity might transform the world. His cultural significance transcends platinum records and Grammys. Its language is resistance. In the soundtrack of generations given identities by his voice, he belonged to history and music. History, unlike charts, never forgets. Even though Ozzy Osbourne died, his legacy lives on in music history and beyond. His last bow continued. It was the entrance into legend, where sound no longer needs speakers and legacy no longer requires breath. The days after his death were significant, not only mourning but a powerful commentary on life in Ozzy's era. Ozzy developed music and a survival plan, a living example of tenacity. His shortcomings and pain were his armor. Ozzy gave admirers, from teens in dimly lit bedrooms to battle-scarred veterans, something they couldn't get anywhere. Allow yourself to be loud, broken, and loved. His voice guided survivors of inner anguish, leaving a legacy on platinum records and in their hearts. Ghost, Slipknot, Avenged Sevenfold, Bring Me the Horizon, and others mention Ozzy as an influence. His rebellion is in their genes. His unique mix of lunacy and meaning defines rawness and genuineness. Ozzy wasn't a template, thus no one has copied it. Spiritual power and damaged misfit gospel prophet. The memorial and mural quote that is now scripture expresses it best. His legacy went beyond music. Philosophy was his legacy. Be loud, be broken, be brave, be you. Not just an epitaph. They inspire outcasts, loners, and misunderstood. Whoever believed they didn't fit in, the world offered. That vulnerability is not weakness, he told us. Such lunacy isn't failure. That music is weaponry, not decoration. For survival, revolt, self-love. Even when his body betrayed him and the tremors and pain worsened, Ozzy's voice remained sharp. He stated if he dies on stage, let it be because he loves nothing more. His last performance was months before his death, yet it felt like he died, giving his audience everything. Universities now teach pop culture and musicology with Ozzy as a case study in authenticity. In therapy groups, demon-naming participants quote his lyrics. He brings catharsis and happiness to paranoid, or Mama, I'm Coming Home families. Ozzy's legacy goes beyond his achievements. He showed the broken the way to completeness without trying to be whole. He wasn't flawless. His words were honest. He taught the world how to scream without apology, rise without wiping scars, and love fiercely amid despair. He transcended genre, era, and identity. Ozzy gave his metal house soul. That house is taller than before, protecting every trembling voice that sings. As long as people choose raw truth over polish, soul over spectacle, and fire over fear, Ozzy Osbourne will survive. Every whisper of resistance, chorus of survival, and anthem that refuses to die, quietly, will carry his voice. The final note is legacy, not silence. Everlasting, uncompromising. Sharon kept Ozzy's fire burning. She supported him for over 40 years, in the storm, not the spotlight. She was more than his wife. His greatest guardian, she crafted his second act and carried him when his own voice faltered. She stayed at his side through addiction, illness, and chaos. Sharon carries his legacy in the calm after his death. with a love and remembering, not myth or hoopla. Plans for every tribute and foundation. Everything she says is hers. Although Ozzy was the Prince of Darkness, Sharon was his light. If this story moved you, remember Ozzy in the comments. Which song helped you through your worst? What did he mean to you? Keep his broken, fearless spirit loud and together.